Karen, I love your glasses.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Okay, yep, that's better. Camera
Hello,
lens is
Mimi.
like foggy.
Hello, Dylan. Welcome in, welcome in.
Okay.
Hello, if you're just joining us.
I'll probably show this throughout the live, but I just wanted to show off my birthday present from Taryn. Look at Cersei!
We're Twinkies! Twinkies!
Black and gold Cersei! I love her so much. Look at this. Look at that, the Lannister lion. Ah! Okay. I am so
Looking
excited.
good.
You wish you had friends like mine. My friends are better than your friends, period. Oh, and look at this is what my parents got me for
We
my
got
birthday.
Chelsea coming in.
You got John!
Yes!
Nice. Hello.
John's hidden, but he's right there.
I'm counting it as book John, not TV John.
Yeah, it's book.
It's Book John. It's always Book John.
We don't stan TV John. You don't sucks.
Well, he's just not there. He's not. I don't. What is it? Identify with him as easily because he's not that much of a character. He's kind of empty, which I think attributes to why he's so popular.
TV John is so lame. Book John is everything. We stan an Ice Dragon King.
We do.
Dark John. John 19.
The Ice Dragon. The
silent wolf, the quiet wolf. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get my. There we go.
So, oh, by the way, I love this artwork. Like, it's all the Dragon Queens, starting from Visenya going all the way down to Daenerys with their dragons.
Nice.
Yeah, that artist is great. Super detailed.
Oh, yeah, I love it so much. I'm saving that one for later.
Yeah, so it is her birthday week, so I'd like to. We should all wish Lady Blackfire a happy birthday.
34.
Happy birthday.
Almost halfway to 40.
No,
Age is but a number.
Yes, I agree. I have to agree because I'm the oldest.
Chelsea, when people get mad, apparently we're 40. Apparently we're magically going from 34 to 40.
Yes.
I think Ashley's the youngest out of all of us.
No, I'm the youngest. I'm the baby.
I'm the baby.
You're the youngest. Aren't you?
Taryn, I thought. No, Taryn, you're the youngest.
No, I can't possibly be the youngest.
You are.
I'm 33. I'll be 34 in October.
I will be 34 in 2 days. I'll be 34 in 2 days.
Well, shit, guys. I guess I am the youngest.
Well,
no.
I'll be 35 in
Hold
August. So
No, Eric.
I am the youngest. You're right.
Eric's the youngest.
all right,
I'm the youngest.
people are ready.
Okay, so yeah.
I'm the baby. Okay. So what an episode, guys.
Yeah,
y'all.
Somebody already said, Dragon Lizard Queen said she cried when Maelys looked back at Rhaenys. Yes.
The show had no right to do that to me.
Yeah.
Like, the look of love and devotion, and the look said to me, Mom, I tried my best. Like, I did my best. I'm sorry it wasn't enough.
And it just ties back to her when Rhaenys said to battle again, old girl, I was like, fuck off. Don't you dare do that to me. And I literally, so when it started to go down and then when she turns back and looks at Rhaenys, I screamed at the TV, don't make me watch this. Like anyone was forcing me to do this. But that was my genuine reaction was I don't want to watch this. It was so painful.
So who started crying when Aegon walked up to Sunfire and Sunfire looked at him with so much trust? There is clearly, I never thought that I would see Aegon have, I know it's said in Fire and Blood that they had a bond, but Gildain is also full of crap. But the bond between Sunfire and Aegon is so legitimate and so...
Oh, you cut out.
We gotta pause.
You cut out, Ashley.
Oh, no. Okay. So am I back?
Yes. I can hear you now.
Okay, so watching the bond play out between the two of them, it's not a bond, like I said to you guys, it's not a bond that I've ever seen with Aemond and Vhagar. I've never seen that loving and exchange between the two of them. Whereas we see it with Aegon and Sunfire, there is a love there. And I honestly don't believe that Aegon thought that he was going to be harmed. I think he just thought that, oh, I'm going to go in here and blow some.
I don't think he thought about it. I think he was just so drunk and reckless that he just didn't think about it. But it's part of that too. The difference between Aemond and Vhagar and Aegon and Sunfire is that Sunfire and Aegon are Aegon is the only one Sunfire has ever bonded with. That's not true of, sorry, hold on. The garbage truck is here. That's not true of Vhagar. And so that's a very different thing. Like the trust that Sunfire has for Aegon is completely different.
Aemond is Vhagar's 5th or 6th writer.
I'd have to look at my notes, but it's like,
I look at, okay, so I look at the way, I go back to season 1 and I look at the way that Vhagar looks at Laena when she's asking Vhagar to burn her. And Vhagar legitimately is like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
So
I have a whole video coming.
You got to remember that.
That love did not transfer to Aemond. This relationship between the two of them seems purely transactional.
Yeah.
You got to remember
I
that
think Vhagar's too fucking
wrote.
old and tired to give a fuck, honestly. She's just like, all right, fine.
Remember, guys, that Balon rode Vhagar and Alyssa rode Meleys.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
So it's so fucked up that like former. Okay,
These are former relationships that these dragons had. Like Vhagar spent genuine time with Meleys. Vhagar also spent a lot of time with Caraxes. We have to assume that they spent time together. And these are dragons that, spoiler alert, she is like, I mean, at the end of the day, she is trying to destroy Caraxes and they both destroy each other. And it's just very, very sad that these dragons, who at one point in time were close, are now killing each other. Like, I hate it. I hate it. I hate watching it. I didn't think I would be as emotionally attached to these dragons as I was Daenerys' dragons, but I feel like I was more attached to their deaths.
Yeah, absolutely.
These dragons in the show, because it felt like Viserion and Rhaegal died in really stupid ways in the show, like really just dumb. And these, I don't know, this felt so much more real and so much more emotional, and I was heartbroken.
For me, it was the dragons. I had some connection to Rhaenys as a character, but this kind of ties into my critiques of the whole scene. Why did she go back? We could talk about that now, or we can talk about that later. But I overall enjoyed how they did Rook's Rest. It's just Rhaenys' motivation. Like the first thing I thought was like, is this about the Dragon Pit? Like, is she trying to make up for it? But I don't know.
I think that's part of it. I do think that while she played tough when she was having that conversation with Daemon, I'm sure it stung to hear that. That, you know, if you had done this, then Luke would be alive and we'd be in a different situation. I'm sure that stung. And I think she's like fed up with Corlys, and how he just is not listening to what she's saying or taking it as seriously as she thinks it needs to be. She's lost her children.
Speaking of that, with the interaction that she had with Adam, like she was confronting him like she knows who he is, setting up that he is in fact.
She told Corlys she knew. She fully knew.
She definitely knew. That's why she's commenting on the mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked that scene and kind of Rhaenys' acknowledgement that, like, I don't know, it didn't seem like she would blame the woman. In fact, she was like, it must have been an extraordinary woman to have made Corlys, you know, make that decision. Not make him make that decision, but to, you know, get him to make that.
Her wrath seems to be with Corlys.
Yeah.
But that
I don't know, Farah. I mean, for Vhagar, yes, she is a war dragon, but she's never had to kill other dragons. So I think that this is new territory for her. I definitely don't believe that it's something that she is desiring to do. I think this is all coming from what Aemond wants, and she really doesn't have any other alternative other than to do what Aemond wants her to do.
I think they're a really good exploration of why the blood bond is bad. Why that shouldn't be a factor in a dragon bonding with a person, because it's not really about the person, you know? It is,
I think that's at the end of the day what we are looking at. That's the reason why Nettles exists in the story, to show us that you don't have to have a Valyrian blood tie to be able to bond with the dragon organically and have this beautiful relationship. In fact, I think that it is so awesome that she is one of the few dragon riders to survive, and her dragon survives. Like, they go on because they formed this organic bond and not one that was formed by magic.
Yeah, agree.
So I think that a genuine bond is always going to be so much stronger and legitimate than a blood bond.
I agree. And
In
like,
the
you can have
comments-
both. I want, like, to be super clear, I think there can be both. Like, there's
Yeah.
the blood bond, and then there's like what you see with Mayleys and Rhaenys, because they've been bonded for like 40 years. Like, and they've been through some shit.
I do think that they are definitely bonded. I would say that Daenerys probably has a genuine bond as well as a blood bond to Drogon in the books. Now, I'm talking about book Daenerys. It feels like, well, because she doesn't need all the things that they need. She doesn't need to tell Drogon, oh, hey, do this, this, and this. He just knows. And I think that that's signs of a legitimate, like, organic bond that they have formed out of a mutual respect and love for one another.
Yeah, they have to build that. It's like it's like how Dany and Rhaegal are bonded, but they don't have that respect yet for each other.
Can we take a moment in the scenes, the shots that we get of Vhagar are just so majestic. Like, she's just that bitch. I just love the shots of Vhagar and just her massiveness, Granny Vhagar.
How slow she is.
Grandmother to half these dragons.
I love that he's like, Vhagar, wait. And she's like, bet, I'm going to take a nap. Okay? Bye.
Yeah.
Leave her alone.
Like the nap time.
The opportunity that I get, I'm taking a nap. I had a lot of stuff to do today, but instead I took a nap.
See, that to me,
Mentality.
that to me tells me that she's not all there. That she's
No,
like
for sure,
flying
she's
by.
ancient. She's old as shit at this point.
All she
It's just
wants
she's flying based on like how Aemon's mindset is, which is why shit like Lucerys happened, because Aemon wanted that to happen. He knows the consequences, but Vhagar knew he wanted that to happen.
Yeah, because they
That's
have
why she acted on it.
Okay. So I think by the end of it, when it was about to happen, Aemon really did second guess himself and was like, maybe I don't really want to be a kinslayer. Like, maybe I do need to change my mind here. But at that point, it's just gone so far beyond his control because it's already in the moment of happening. Like, we're within seconds of it happening when he realizes, oh, I really don't want to kill him. But with Aegon, it was fully, I want to kill him. Like, there is no doubt about it. I want Aegon dead. Like, get his ass. And he doubled down on it. He was literally going to take that sword and end it right then and there. When you have someone as diabolical as Kristen Cole on his knees in shock, this man is in full-blown shock of what you have just done, my guy. That is when you know you've gone too far. Because when Crispy is surprised,
Chris is like,
Kristen is like, Aemon, fully stop. What are you doing?
yeah, I love that they changed. Like, not changed because we never really knew the details of what happened in the air, but I love that it was Aemon. And just that moment of like, because it's a surprise for all of us, right? Like, we're like, oh, no, he isn't. No, he isn't. And he does.
I think
okay, so the one thing that was a surprise for me.
This might be unpopular. I don't think Aemon was going to finish him off.
Oh yeah, he was.
Why was his sword
I don't think he was. It really looks like, and we'll see in the new episodes, because I think it is going to be a big thing that Kristen believes he would do that. Whether or not he's going to do it or not, like they definitely, I think, shot that to be way more ambiguous. Like, to me, I'm getting like pure ambiguity, not like the hidden ambiguity of like the Eric versus Art fight, which is like there is definitely a real version to that.
I hear you, but why did he have a sword out?
Exactly. Why was his
It's a
sword
war
out?
zone, and there could be anything there.
fully walking towards his brother with his sword out.
Yeah.
And then in that case,
ready.
he would be
ready. That's
sheathing
true.
it when he gets to Aegon. So it's one of those like I don't know if it's. We'll see. We'll have to see. I am totally on board. It's not as if I'm saying that Aemon wouldn't do that. I'm just wondering what the show's intentions are because. And we'll talk about this later. Actually, about the show's intentions because there's one scene, the small council scene, which I'd like to talk about. But as far as like, I think it's set up that whatever Aemon's like whatever's going on in the front of his head, behind that he wants to murder Aegon. He does not like his brother.
See, that's what I think so too. Stabbed Aussie boy. Said he already kinslayed twice because, he kills Lucerys and Rhaenys. Well, he kills Lucerys and Rhaenys is his second cousin, and probably some other things because Targaryen family circle. And so I really do think that he was going to kill Aegon. I think his original intention was to kill Aegon because he sets him ablaze. And he thought, surely to goodness, I'm going to set the two of them on fire in the fall. Alone will kill Aegon, if not me setting him ablaze. There's no way he's coming out of this alive.
He didn't wait for an opportunity for the dragons to be separated. He lit them both up.
And that just goes to show you that Aemon has absolutely zero regard for dragon life or Valyrian. He absolutely does not care. This is all, again, transactional for him because, as I have been saying, since 2018, Aemon wanted his brother's throne. Now, the thing that did surprise me was him doing it on purpose. I kind of thought that it was going to be another subconscious moment between Vhagar and Aemon, where Vhagar just kind of was like, oh, you want Aegon gone, so I'm going to fix this for you. But no, he fully said it.
Yeah. I think, too, when we're having the conversation about Aemon and kinslaying, we should include the dragons because he's forcing Vhagar to kill her kin. These are all, Meraxes and her offspring are dead at this point. And so these are all related to Vhagar. When we say Granny Vhagar, we mean Granny Vhagar. She's grandmother of dragons.
All of these dragons are related to Vhagar in one way or another. She is either their mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. So they are all hers.
Yeah, the dragons are the true victims, and I think this episode did a wonderful job of demonstrating that, especially with Sunfire. I'm planning a whole video about Sunfire. I'm just broken.
And I was saying this in the group chat last night. Even in Game of Thrones, whenever Viserion got offed and Rhaegal, it did not tug on my heartstrings like Meleys did in seeing Sunfire go down. They summed it up poetically.
I was surprised by my lack of reaction to Rhaegal and Viserion dying. There was a reaction, but it was not I was profoundly sobbing yesterday, just absolutely sobbing over CGI dragons. Just
CGI dragons, yes.
Devastated, completely devastated. I started crying when Sunfire was looking at Aegon when they were in the dragon pit because I was like, he trusts you, you lying sack of shit. He trusts you.
Yeah, he thought it was going to be a drunken joyride because that.
He was like, yay, we're going to go have a good time and it's going to be fun and we're going to be in the sky and it's going to be a nice time. And
being the cutest boy. Did y'all see the gold reflections whenever he was in the dragon pit? Just absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Yeah, I love the design. Gorgeous. I like how with these this newer generation, so Sunfire and Moondancer, they have these little mohawk crests. They both had it. They're much more like fin-like up here, and I love that design a lot. I love the designs of all the dragons, to be honest.
It also shows that they come from Cyrax, so you know that they're very closely related. So it's also Sunfire looks so much like Cyrax, so much like her. That very thin face. And so does Moondancer. Moondancer looks a lot like Cyrax.
I think it does say something about the quality of the two different shows. Y'all were talking about the difference in reaction you had from Viserion and Rhaegal and then Sunfire and Meleys. Specifically Sunfire, we just met him. And adding that little bit of character made it that much more involving versus how much good faith that show Game of Thrones destroyed just in one season. Because at the end of season 7, we were all like, what is happening? Like, we can't even like process that Viserion is gone. Because it's like, why? Why did it happen?
And her
Doesn't make any
reaction.
sense.
Dumb the way it happened. It was so stupid because how was he able to get Viserion at that angle? How was that spear supposed to be able to hit her that way? How did they get her out of the lake? Like,
Where did the chains come from? Where did the chains come from? What walkers are going under the water and getting the chains around the dragon? Like, come on, what is tomfoolery going on here?
That was the thing. Within the show's own logic, it started to fall apart because it's like they started making dragon glass work on whites, and then also like central to why they get away from Hardhome is that they're on the water, but then they can just fetch stuff from the water. What's going on?
What is going on?
There was no
And
consistency.
because of stuff like that,
whites.
because
Yes, they had scuba diving whites.
because-
Somebody said in the chat they had scuba diving whites. Yep, they were putting on full scuba gear and getting down there. They had their goggles on to be able to see, and they found Viserion.
But because House of the Dragon like just does the bare minimum to like engage its audience, I think it was like night and day. And I was surprised because I thought I was going to be feeling more for Rhaenys, and that's one of my critiques is about I still don't quite get her motivation. So that kind of when I was watching, that kind of took me out a little bit. But everything else around it, like the Meleys looking back was like just Meleys was saying like, why is this happening? And I couldn't watch anymore.
I felt
Okay.
like, did I do good? Did I do good? Was I a good dragon? I fought my hardest.
Yeah, because earlier in the chat, Sam said something to the effect of, so they're leaving, right? They're fleeing, and Meleys turns around and looks back, and it's almost like I agree with Sam. My interpretation was she's saying like, we're fleeing. I thought you said this was to battle. Like I felt like there was like there's her characterization at play that almost forces her to go back, and then there's also I think she thought like, if I can kill Aegon or I can take out Vhagar, I might be able to end this, right? This could end right here. And I think that was a lot of her
Well,
motivation.
I think she felt in that moment that Sunfire and Aegon were likely dead. I mean, everybody can assume at that point, like, they're fully dead. He set them ablaze. Like, they're gone. So I think at that point, Rhaenys is like, okay, one more, and this is over. That's it. So if I take out Aemond and Vhagar, it's fully over. And then what Daemon says doesn't matter anymore. And I hate Daemon for that because I feel like that's like what you said, that did actually sting her. She made it seem like it didn't, but it did.
So I think y'all are right. My critique is that the show doesn't, I think, show us that as well because it's one of those things. It's like how does Kristen get out of what happens at the end of episode 5? We can think of a ton of reasons and different stories of why that would happen, but it's just like we aren't shown that by the show, and I think that is something that the show, I think, is still struggling with because even though the pace has definitely slowed down in season 2, they're still kind of rushed. Like Rook's Rest, that is one thing. The episode didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to be way more focused on Rook's Rest rather than just us getting there in the last like 25 minutes.
You mean like this, like the siege aspect of Rook's?
I thought that they were going to start there and that we would like visit different parts of the world in between that. But instead it was like very much a direct, like Kristen, like he got 2 armies, you know, he put down 2 houses and added their armies, you know, just basically off screen. So it's like, I was kind of just expecting to see more of that, but it's just one of those things. I don't think the show has enough time to give us all the character moments we want or that they're even working with.
Right, because when Aegon got onto Sunfire, I paused it, and there was like 20 minutes left. I'm like, they're gonna do this all in one episode.
Oh my gosh, stop it. In the comments, Farah said, Meleys look at the end Rhaenys felt the same as Eric saying, "Your Grace, forgive me." Like, stop it! Those are like the two most painful moments. Like, are you trying to hurt me? Like, why would you say that?
Yeah, I mean this. I mean this with utmost respect, but please shut up.
Shut up. You shut up.
Can we take a moment real fast? Can we take a roll and have just a moment of silence for this monstrosity right here?
This monstrosity, amen, sister.
I will not be quiet.
Just
I don't know about you.
They made two icy Viserion figures, and then dwarves made a Viserion like character. Like, why? Why are you doing? No, we don't. Never, not canon ever.
Well, the thing about it is, and you guys know I love the ice dragons, but they're not undead. These are very much living dragons. They come about in a different way, but they are fully alive. There is no connection to the others. That's not how any of that works. So Viserion being an undead dragon, that doesn't exist. There is no such thing. I don't even think that is possible.
I do wonder what that intense of a combination of fire and ice, what that would result in.
Yeah.
You know, because like I always think about water magic and how water is like that. What happens when fire and ice meet? So I'm like, what happens? Try and turn a dragon into an undead ice dragon.
I think it would just die. I don't think that the magic is. I don't think that they can coincide like together in one form like that. I don't think it would work.
Or what is that the? Well, okay, that's a whole different. Let's not. Yeah, my brain's already like.
Are we gonna make a water dragon at that point?
Oh, right.
Rose was the last 12 for Rhaenys. I don't think it was Corlys that drove her to do that. I think it was that she was trying to end what she felt like she should have ended in season 1. She should have taken care of them at Aegon's coronation, and she feels guilty about that. So I think that that's what that was really about. But there is probably a combination of that and a certain amount of animosity towards Corlys that drove her decision making. So it's probably a combination of things.
Yeah, I think it was a factor, but
that's what I mean. Like I can understand that like she's making up for her inaction in the dragon pit. I just felt like maybe they needed to bring that up. Like they're one line, and it's just it's just kind of a little frustrating when I think about like the way the season is going, because they're all like episode 2 is really the standout where there's like nothing wrong with the episode at all, but like episode 1 and 3, like they both have like one has the weird blood and cheese thing that they did, which is I didn't like the perspective change. I don't think we should have followed blood and cheese. I think it should have been shocking. And then in 3, it's like the scene with Rhaenyra and Alicent needed to happen, but it just felt a little goofy, and like we needed to just go along with it. It's like, oh yeah, she gets into King's Landing and gets out. That's fine. It's not important.
Into Dragonstone fully in freaking what's their face, the priestess garb. She's like, I was avoiding the war, as she's like dressed in a Septa's like garb. I'm just like,
literally Saint Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my stepdad yesterday because I was over at my parents' house, and he is a TV only viewer. So he was very confused. He was like, how did she get all the way through without being recognized? And I'm like, I don't know. Plot armor.
I don't know. It's like she doesn't go parading in the streets, but she does go from the keep to the dragon pit. So she does, but usually I guess she goes in Harlequin. But I don't think that they really like see her face a lot.
And the show explained this as well. The show explained it as it was. What's the detail? It was that Missaria says that like most people don't look at women when they're in certain service. Yeah. So it's like you're supposed to, that's the screenplay telling you what is going on. I don't think it lands, because it's like how do like somebody might have recognized the Realms of the Light. Like, let's be real.
But I mean, I agree. In the comments, it says a lot of small folk aren't going to be able to like identify. Although it is a small folk of King's Landing, and she was, like you said, the Realm's Delight, so she was kind of like on display a lot for the people of King's Landing.
She did hide her hair.
Yeah,
Like,
she
She did.
took a lot of risks. She did take a lot of
I
risks.
feel like
I can understand the point behind what she felt she had to do, because for Rhaenyra, involving the dragons was the very, very last resort. And that's why I say I love the nod towards Book Daenerys. Somebody in that writing room, I'm assuming it has to be George, but it could be somebody else who enjoyed the books as well. Somebody in that writing room is trying to make nods towards Book Dany, because that is a Book Dany move if I have ever seen one. To risk her own life to avoid using dragons in war is such a Book Dany move. It just screams her all over it. And I really like that, because it kind of gives you a genuine look at where Daenerys got her need for peace from, where she got she comes by it honest.
At this point, should we take a shot for every time they say the Song of Ice and Fire?
Okay, yeah. Do we want to move
Okay.
on to the whole
VA
prophecy
Pac-Man.
stuff?
Hold on. VA Pac-Man said Sunfire deserves it. Screw you, because no, he did not.
None of the dragons really deserve it.
mean,
None of the dragons
I'm
deserve
gonna
anything.
I'm gonna be fully disrespectful with this one, but no,
yeah, that's a
Sunfire
weird
doesn't
thing.
deserve anything. No.
Why are you in this chat?
Do we? Okay, so for the panel, do we have anything else to say about Rook's Rest?
It was devastating as it was meant to be.
I watched through. Just like the Red Wedding. I went like this and watched my fingers.
I felt like I said in my video yesterday, I felt that I would be much more satisfied that I was correct, because I've been saying that Aemond was going to show up to Rook's Rest late for like 2 years. And I was like, haha, like this is going to be my theory proven right. I just know this is going to happen. And then it happens. And I'm like, this does not feel like a victory kind of thing for me anymore. I feel like this is like a hollow victory. Like, why? I'm not happy anymore.
Yeah, our same. The parade through the streets with the head is going to be a killer.
Such a tell us you are not truly Targaryen, Valyrian, and proud without telling us.
Okay, but can we talk about that? Can we talk about what that eventually leads up to? Because how was the shepherd so comfortable doing what he does, like orchestrating that in the dragon pit?
I'll be so curious how they do it in the show.
That started with the head of Meleese being marched through the streets. And you can't tell me it didn't, because as soon as you introduce that to the people, that these great, amazing creatures are capable of dying this way and being beheaded and marched through the streets, you are telling them that, oh, okay, it's okay to just go ahead and kill them.
You're undermining your own power.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, well, Vagar is what protects the city, but what when they just killed another dragon, so they can be brought down.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are showing that dragons have a weakness, that they can be killed, and that they can be vulnerable. And that is so dangerous to dragons and to Targaryens. Like, I do not understand the reasoning behind that. That was a very foolish decision.
I'm hopeful that
the
show is going to go with this latest round of propaganda not working in their favor, because it's like you tried this with Jaehaerys, and then Aegon ruined it, and now you're going to do it again. Like, the people aren't going to take it, because I'm betting shit might be worse now in the city.
I imagine we're going to see, pretty soon after that, if not then.
They brought it up. The sheep. The sheep they're running out of sheep. That's okay. Now I'm starting to see a little bit of what the show. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What do you think Rhaenyra giving the veil baby dragons so shady? No, it's not shady, because
that was the deal.
Her mother comes from the Vale. Like, her mother is an Aaron.
No, I think what they're saying is that she didn't give them a full-grown dragon.
Okay. So I feel like from Rhaenyra's perspective, she needs the larger dragons to keep her own area protected. Like,
the Vale is more secure than Dragonstone.
Yeah, the Vale doesn't have too much to worry about at this point. But baby dragons are better than no dragons. It feels like.
Yeah.
It is kind of shady to fulfill your deal that way because it's like they wanted dragon riders. You know what they meant.
Yeah.
You know what the veil meant. But it's like, now here's your dragon riders. Please, army. Thank you.
Yeah,
Which
well,
the veil
not only
should.
did they give them little, little dragons. They also entrusted them with the eggs. So the legacy. So there's that. That's pretty important.
Sure is. I sure
Okay.
hope we see Tessarion. Oh my gosh. Just.
I mean, they mentioned Daeron. I feel like they have to do it at this point.
Well, and he's
They-
so
Can we
involved.
talk about where is Benji? Where is Benji? You gave me Willem Blackwood again. I didn't want to see Willem. I want Benji. God damn it! Damn.
I saw it in the
What is it?
subtitles. I saw it in the subtitles. Someone mentioned him though.
Yeah.
Yes.
The conversation with Damon in the middle of his hallucination.
Yeah. But I
But-
Let's
want
talk about the hallucinations,
physical
by the way.
presence.
Yeah, let's talk about Harrenhal and Damon.
This goes right into Harrenhal and Damon and Alice Rivers. But I just one thing while we're on it, it would have been so cool if just Damon had to just see kids. Like first he has to deal with Oscar and then he has to deal with Benji. That would have been funny, I think.
Okay, but also I'm so excited that they're not changing the names. That we're going to get Oscar, Kermit, and Benji.
The lads.
So I'm really excited. But I mean, I need Benji now. Give me Bloody Ben.
So during the episode, I mentioned to my husband, I was like, she is just fucking with them, and it is just hilarious. She constantly is fucking with Damon, and Damon's like, chasing Aemon through the halls, and Aemon is Damon, which Aemon is Damon if you move the D.
Damon isn't real. He can't hurt you.
He can't hurt you.
I like the kind of ambiguity that it's like how much of it is Alice, how much of it is Harrenhal, how much of it is Damon's own guilt.
True.
I like that a
But
lot.
this is where I'm going to fully double down on my theory that Alice is not going to be for Aemon at all. She is there to dismantle these two men. Like, she's trying to actively destroy. Like, as soon as we introduce Aemon and Alice, she's going to actively try to destroy this man.
Yeah.
And that is going to be so. Anybody who thought that this was going to be a loving relationship, spoiler alert, you're wrong. You're fully wrong.
Do you think they're gonna lead up to her being with child?
I think that the baby in question might not even exist. I think it might be
a shadow baby.
I was just gonna say, wouldn't it be so fun if she just fully had a shadow baby?
Shadow baby.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with that. All I know is that Alice is not for Aemon. Whether it's a real baby or not, she is not going to be on his side. She's going to try to dismantle him the same way she's doing to Damon. Except it's probably going to be a lot worse because you have to think she looks very comfortable. She's not being mistreated by her family, as is depicted in Fire and Blood. So this man is going to annihilate her entire family. And this is not going to be okay with Alice. She is going to destroy him.
You notice that in the last episode, Alice had more of like an American accent, and then in this episode, she had more Scottish.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the
I guess-
Scottish.
Yeah, me too. I like that, like, she's, more like, the implication is she's, like, more indigenous, I guess, to, like, the area.
I overall like when they just let the actors have their regular accents. I just think that makes it stronger because it's also a fantasy world and there's not really a whole lot of story stuff and world building with accents, at least in this story. Like, definitely George has mentioned that. Like, that's why Tyrion has to be Hugor because he sounds like he's from Westeros and from the West specifically. But speaking of book stuff, I was so surprised that we got some Weirwood lore kind of confirmed, at least through the show, because some of these ideas are straight up like book fandom theories. The idea that like Weirwoods, like bits of Weirwood, like you can hear the voices within them, like just that idea that this might be coming from Damon's Weirwood bed that he's sleeping in.
Yep.
Like that's like on the level of like Sweet Robin is hearing Marillion because he's sitting on the Weirwood throne.
Yes.
So it's just interesting that they're just throwing stuff like that that's not necessarily confirmed in the books yet. That's
Oh,
just
they're
theory.
really playing
Like
with
they
the
read the
lore.
Reddit.
They are really playing with the lore, and to the point that they are actively undermining Game of Thrones, and I just love to see it.
I
We
love
love
it.
to
It's
see
like a
it.
big,
So much
huge
more
D&D.
magic. We are seeing the magic. We are seeing horror elements. We are seeing all of the things that George portrays in A Song of Ice and Fire. This is a much more magical series, and I am really enjoying that. But I'm sorry, people keep mentioning in the chat about Alicent's moon tea moment, and I don't think it's moon tea, guys. I think it's.
He's further along than that.
Before we get into that,
suggested yesterday that it could be black hellebore because that wasn't an uncommon herb to use in early abortions way back in the day. But I mean, obviously, this isn't way back in the day. This is an imaginary world. But whatever it is, I don't think it's moon tea. I think it's going
Tansy.
beyond that.
It's probably Tansy.
Yeah,
So-
Tansy. I was about to
It's
say
Tansy.
if there is something, because what I was thinking was that, okay, yeah, she is further along. It wouldn't be moon tea because moon tea is like the plan B.
Maybe.
But I just thought that was just like the show, maybe like forgetting a little bit of the lore. It's just like, well, it's moon tea. It's the same thing as before, because to me, that scene was definitely supposed to be like the scene with Rhaenyra.
Yes.
Except we know that Alicent takes them. Like, it's ambiguous with Rhaenyra, but of course it's one of them ambiguous things because we know she didn't mess around, so we know that she didn't take it.
Do we think that Alicent wanted this abortion? Like it's something that she wanted, or do you think that it's
I don't
something
think she wants a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like she was done having kids because I feel that her time having children was definitely very traumatizing because they were all very unwillingly conceived.
in the chat, Sunfire said, Sunfire is not dead, unfortunately. Sunfire is needed later in the story.
Okay, so I want to go back to, I don't think that it was like a plot hole in the show, the tea, because when Larys comes in, he calls it out. And he knows what the moon tea, it's in a different container. The container looks different, which makes me think that they have like signature containers that they serve these in. And Larys, we know, is familiar with it because we know that he saw the moon tea one that Rhaenyra saw. And it's the way that he says it. Like, I very much feel like it was implied that it was something different. And then seeing her with the stones because she's having cramping, like, it's not that it doesn't agree with your stomach, it's that you're going to bleed and cramp. Like,
okay,
yeah.
But can we talk about how, if I were Alicent, I'd just fully punch him in the face? Like, I'd be ready to kill you. Like,
He's just being a spider. He is just intaking these information for blackmail later.
I mean, yeah, dude, I would fully at that point be like, you know what? You cannot be trusted. You are trying to
Can we block this person in the comments, please?
I did.
Okay.
Like, that is for me, it's, if I were Alicent, I'd be like, okay, you've got to go because you are entirely too much in my business right now. Get out.
Yeah, someone in the comments had said Tansy, and I think that that's exactly what it was. And I think that's another callback to the lore because we know from, oh God, what's his name? Hoster and Lysa, that like there was blood and like, that was an abortion, not like Moonty. So I bet that we can't say for certain because it wasn't named, but I bet that is what it was. It's Tansy.
Well, as someone who is fully, and I'll like leave it alone after this because I know it's going to inspire people to get crazy. But as someone who is fully pro-choice, I'm like, good for you. Like, do what you need to do, girl. It's one of the very few times where I'm like, Alicent, do what you need to do.
Do what you need to do, pro-choice. Can we talk about how unfazed Larys was whenever Harrenhal was taken? Like, it just... Not an emotion across his face. Like, oh, my castle was taken.
I doubt he really wants it because I think that he is aware, like we are all aware, that place is fully cursed. And he's like, okay, yeah, you can have it. I'm not bothered by that.
Yeah. So let's go back to Harrenhal because we kind of jumped onto something else.
Yes.
How do we feel about the second young Rhaenyra vision? Because it did not have the magic of the first one for me.
Fully in the black garb, the black gown garb with the crown, and then her being beheaded to, like, I guess to shut up, and then she keeps talking. He's just like, I'm really fucking losing this.
I think it was a way of taunting him, but I don't think it had the same effect because the first time we see her holding a dead Jaehaerys, and I feel like that is Daemon having to come to reality with what he has done. And he's kind of blaming Rhaenyra for it because Rhaenyra is the one who asked him to do it, and he is not. I don't believe at his heart, at his core, Daemon is a kinslayer, or that he wanted to be a kinslayer, and that's why I think Blood and Cheese exists in the first place, is that he didn't want to be the one to do it. Right. So I think a part of him blames Rhaenyra, but then the other part is coming to grips with the fact that he is the reason why this child is gone. And at first, he was fully comfortable with that. He was like, we see him being very nonchalant at the council about this. But when he has to look at it and he has to be faced with the reality of what has happened because of what he did and what he put into motion, but it's also because of Rhaenyra. So there's so many emotions going on in that scene. Like, he is blaming her, but he also loves her.
Yeah.
And
he has to
also
deal with his anger.
It's the version of Rhaenyra that worshipped Daemon. Young Rhaenyra was head over heels, ride or die.
No.
Oh, you froze.
As an adult woman, she's not as devoted to him, and she's angry with him, but also he's like, but you asked me to do this, and I couldn't bring myself to do it, so I had to send these people to do it. But then, like I said, being faced with the body, he has to blame himself too now. It's a lot of emotions going on, whereas the headless Rhaenyra, it didn't quite hit the same for me.
Yeah, like, I get narratively that they need a scene where he grapples, he's had a scene where he grapples with the guilt associated with young Rhaenyra. Now he needs a scene where he deals with the anger associated with young Rhaenyra, which is what this was meant to convey narratively. It just didn't land for me. I get what they were trying to do. I just didn't really care for it.
Yeah. I do love that Daemon is really going through it. I feel like he's just in a haunted house right now. And this is the part of the story that's pure horror. We're in the
I loved him seeing Lena. I would like to see more of that. I enjoyed that a lot.
I also want to comment.
I feel like this was very much a callback to Melisandre using glamour her necklace to make her look younger. And now we have Alice doing it to make her look like someone else entirely.
Taryn, what were you going to say?
One second.
Okay.
I was going to say that I feel very bad for Sir Simon that he gave up Harrenhal that easily, because Damon's not here. He's not in it. And it's just every scene I see him, he's like a little more frustrated. Like, I told you that these were the Blackwoods, man. Like, where have you been?
Like, what is the matter with you, bro? But he also knows what's the matter.
I'm seeing things right now. I'm seeing things. I'm seeing illusions right now. My dead wife is over here. Like, I'm losing my mind. And now I'm talking to children.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to say, and it was from like our conversation about Harrenhal last time, is you can really notice the involvement of George in this show. You can see that George, like, there was a rewrite of this season that happened, and why there was a delay, because the scripts needed to be edited. I think George was not happy with all the magical things that was in like phase 1, so he just went back and was like, we need more magic. And I think this is just a big nod to the work and his life's work that he did for this story to implement the most magic as we can without it kind of being confusing. So it's just like another kind of like a FU to D&D with them taking out the magical aspect, because Harrenhal is cursed. Harrenhal, it's not just midwife's tales. It is like legit happening. Like whenever Simon's like, yeah, there hasn't been a fire here since Harren the Black. I mean, there you go.
That they included that he, that he pointed that out for us, because I genuinely wouldn't have made that connection on my own.
Right, and with Daemon fully hallucinating, sleeping in the weirwood bed, I mean, it's just all signs leading to magic.
Yes, agree.
I love it so much.
I think too, really quick, people have been talking a lot about George's blog post where he talks about, adaptations. And, a lot of people are like, see, he's talking about House of the Dragon. Everyone ignores the context that blog post was about Shogun and that it was a good adaptation. That was like what the blog post was about. But you know, I feel like all of his flippant backhandedness that was directed at Game of Thrones.
Oh, 100%. Because
But that's just my personal take on reading
Like
the blog.
if it's directed at anybody specifically, because let's just
It's
remember
also just
that like
valid
this,
general criticism.
yeah, but let's
Yeah.
just it's the thing of like just the way that Hollywood definitely works, and it's the way George definitely operates, is that you don't shit talk the people you work for or that you work with. So it's just like one of those things is like, even if he hated, like he would never have he didn't rise any higher during the show's, like his criticisms of the show were essentially like, we could have done more seasons. And that's like, he probably has way more thoughts about it, but that's basically all he's going to say in the public. So me personally, it's a personal thing. I know I need to get over it, but I would like the fandom to stop. I would like the fandom to stop dramatizing what's going on between the showrunners, because I guarantee that's not happening. It's way different than we can ever understand, just because we're not there.
We're not.
I'm going to say something that's going to be maybe fully unpopular with some people, but I feel like House of the Dragon is being done better than Game of Thrones.
Absolutely, 1000%. Every episode does not let me down like Game of Thrones did.
I feel like the season of Game of Thrones that hit the hardest for me was season 1, and I'm just
like the book.
And I never and maybe a special nod to like seasons 2 and 3, but after that, I feel like it definitely started to lose me. And House of the Dragon just feels more like there feels more like where there's more magical elements. There's just a more mystical, like it feels like more George, whereas Game of Thrones only felt like it had George's stamp on it in season 1.
Yeah, and Kivot just let us know that Rook's Rest is now at a 9.7, which is fantastic. Probably the highest episode of this season.
It was a really good episode.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. Oh, by the way, Chelsea, I see your dragon stickers that are on my car. Those, okay, I have to say, if you have not bought those off Etsy, they still look vibrant and absolutely perfect on the back of my car, and they've been on there since October.
Yeah, and I wash my cup. So this gets washed regularly.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. I'm about to go into work, so I will be like more infrequent. But so the we talked about Harrenhal. We talked about so about the dreams. One thing that I'm kind of like getting a little more critical of the show is just the visual aspect, and maybe I'm just wanting a little too much out of it. But I just felt like there should have been more visual difference between the dreams and reality. Like, get weird with it. I wish they would get a little more weird with it. Like, there's certain technical things that they're doing in the new season that I love, like the lens choices, which there's a lot I need to say about that, but it's frustrating because I can't get high-res screen caps to talk about it. But video incoming if I ever get the stuff. But anyways, I just wish they would get more. Like, the camera was too locked off still. Like, it should have been more fluid or something. Like, it should have been different from the rest of the show. Other than just, like, you know, the rooms are empty and the music is creepy.
Yeah. But just going back to what G Wolf said, Game of Thrones had a lot different stories going on at the same time. House of the Dragon is just one story.
That's fair.
That's true, but also it's just what they took from the book material and then changing it dramatically.
But,
like it
yeah.
just off.
But there's a whole world to it. Like, compare the main series, which covers the 5 books, covers like what, 2.5 years. Meanwhile, the war here is like 30 years of preamble and 3 years. Like, if you put it out as a narrative, like, it's going to be way longer than that. So, like, I forget what I was going with this, but it was just like you can't compare the two because it's like, yeah, Fire and Blood is a summary, so it's like there's way less pages devoted to it.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't make a 1-to-1 comparison between House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. And when I talk about Game of Thrones, I am literally talking about seasons 1 through 4. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Because that's Game of Thrones to me. The rest is whatever the fuck it was, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, seasons 1 through 4 of Game of Thrones, that was like peak television. Like, I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. Like, I think House of the Dragon has captured some of that magic, but it was just such a cultural, like, phenomenon.
Yeah, season one of Game of Thrones, I will never hate on it because that is what inspired me to read the books in the first place.
Same.
I avoided this show for 2 years and then was finally convinced in 2013, hey, you've got to watch this show. It's an amazing show. Like, you've got to try it. And so I try it. And of course, after season one, I'm like, okay, I need to read these books. Where are these books?
Yeah, same.
The Etsy shop, everybody's asking, it's Wildflower Arts, WYLD Flower Arts with a Z. I'll put it in the comments.
I left it in a comment, but I'll comment again for you guys, just in case, so everybody has the link. And they have some amazing stickers on that shop. It's not only the ones that we bought. Chelsea and I bought the 3 dragons, Viserion, Rhaegal, and Drogon. And I put them on the back of my car in October, and they still look absolutely perfect. And I wash my car a lot. So.
Oh, Simile, that's so sweet. They're talking about the Etsy shop where they ordered the stickers, and you're talking about my Etsy shop. But thank you.
Oh, by the way, I want to let you know that when you look up House of the Dragon on Etsy now, your lockets are like the 4th listing.
That's awesome.
No, they're selling so fast. It's like I had to take a deep breath and be like, don't be overwhelmed. Especially when, like, okay, so the original video that I made about those lockets has gotten like 10,000 views, which is like, that's more than that goes beyond like what my videos usually get. So I get a lot of people who like don't know me in the comments, and there are spelling errors. Okay. It was like my first draft of those goddamn cards. And so many people have been absolute assholes about it. And there's like a way to be like, obviously I want someone to be like, hey, that's wrong. And some people did, and it was like, they were really nice about it. Other people have been monsters about it, man.
Well, people really feel the need to be like, oh, by the way, you were wrong. The amount of people who got into my Benji Blackwood video and were like, by the way, you were wrong. You were fully wrong. Well, one person actually got in my comment section this morning and left about 50 comments on individual comments in that video, letting everybody know that they were wrong. And I was like, did you not watch that video? Because I said that he may or may not be Benji, that it is still up for, like, we don't know yet. So I still believe that we are going to get Benji Blackwood, but obviously that was not him. And that is why I use the verbiage. This may not be him, because you can never be quite so sure. Obviously, that was one of those moments where the show was like, let's punk the book readers.
Yeah, I felt like I was punked. I definitely felt that way.
And that's okay. But this is the reason why I said may or may not, because it's important to use that kind of language when you are just not 100% sure.
Agreed. People are just gay. Okay, so were there any other topics that we wanted to touch on about the episode?
How do we feel about I still kind of don't like the A Song of Ice and Fire prophecy. How do y'all feel about it?
Oh, God, I have a lot of thoughts. I need to use the restroom. I'll be right back. Let me think about this.
Okay, there's the listing. Sorry, it took me forever. There's the listing for the stickers. I'm going to see if I can pin it.
Okay, what was the question?
Well, my main thing about the A Song of Ice and Fire thing is, hold on, is my mic even working? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you. Yeah. What was the
Okay.
question?
No, we were talking about the A Song of Ice and Fire theory.
Oh,
prophecy,
yeah, taking a shot every time it said the Song of Ice and Fire.
But I don't really care for it because it's just like, why does it? It doesn't make sense why it's a secret. It really doesn't, because it's like if you need to get the whole world together, like, shouldn't you be like making a movement that says that needs to happen?
You watch your brother until I'm done. Thank you. Keep watching him until I'm done. Not that long.
Okay, go play.
All right. So I think it's just trying to just emphasize a nod to the book canon. Like, okay, we're going to try to say it as much as we can, you know, in hopes that they forgive us HBO for just completely trashing the long night that happens and the monstrosity that was. I just think that they're just trying to CYA. Like we know we fucked up. So here it is again. We're gonna make it right.
Can
Comments are
we
going way too fast.
can we mute that user?
Yeah, it's going too fast. I'm not even catching anything.
We're having a lot of like I don't know why that needs to be said. See.
Okay. I can't at all. Stand by, guys. We're trying to. I don't see it. Sorry, I can't help. It's going too fast.
Yeah, I don't see this person in the. Ashley, you blocked them, so we're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I blocked them, so I think their stuff went away.
Is that
Okay, so
bitchy?
Ashley, what did you think of the A Song of Ice and Fire prophecy?
Yeah. What do you think?
Okay. So start over again. What was the question?
What do you think about them implementing the Song of
Yeah,
Ice?
we're just talking. I just opened up I wanted to talk about specifically Jace and the small council, and then specifically him being
Okay.
told about it. But I just opened it up by
so
saying I don't
Rhaenyra's
care for it.
Doesn't make sense how King Jaehaerys found out the prophecy of everyone died when he became king. Well, somehow someone told the heir. Viserys was told somehow.
So the choice to tell Jaceres, that wasn't surprising.
No, Ashley, we're having audio difficulties.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I think the decision to tell Jaceres makes a whole lot of sense, just narratively, because he is the heir. But I would be interested to see who she passes that down to next. If it would have to be, at some point in time, we're going to have to see Rhaenyra tell Aegon the Third about A Song of Ice and Fire. But he's so young. So
What's the
This
thing?
might
I don't
be
think
where it
so.
gets
I think
lost.
they're setting up that it gets lost in the
Yes.
dates.
Yeah, I think that's the setup, that it's going to get lost.
but then how do we, okay. I don't know. It's so odd because it's like, I think that Egg, as in Aegon the Fifth, knows about it, at least to some degree. He must know. So how is it rediscovered?
What does he know? What do you mean by that?
I think, actually, no, I take that back. He wants to bring back the dragons for political reasons, not for that specific reason. And Rhaegar is the one who discovers it. So, yeah, I think that it's probably going to get lost because, Aegon is too young to hear that. Aegon the Third, not Aegon the Second, but Aegon the Third is probably too young when his mother dies to hear that and be able to absorb it.
Because doesn't Rhaegar get it from a dragon dream?
Yes, I think so. Well, I'm assuming he does. We don't even know that Rhaegar's a dreamer, but it's more than
Chelsea says in the comments he gets it from the Woods Witch, which would be like the ghost from High Heart, right? The witch of High Heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So that's how it's implemented back into the main series. But I think truly that it gets lost in the dance because Viserys III he's not old enough to comprehend the prophecy of the Song of Ice and Fire.
I think it's also so interesting that there's so many things that die with Rhaenyra. So the dragons, the legacy, the Amethyst Empress, A Song of Ice and Fire, it all dies with Rhaenyra. The dragon's ability to reproduce dies with Rhaenyra.
Yep.
This is truly and fully a blood betrayal by the Bloodstone Emperor against the Amethyst Empress come again, and it is also a full-blown Age of Darkness. Because there is no one knows about the prophecy anymore. Everybody's operating in complete, just not knowing anything at all. And it's just very interesting that we are getting that full-blown Age of Darkness. Like Sir Arlen says in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms to Dunk, that the winters became colder and longer. Well, not just that, but the legends themselves died with Rhaenyra.
No, in the book, there's no prophecy being told to heir from sitting regency.
But that's not really too much of a surprise, you guys, because we always say in Fire and Blood, a lot of stuff is going to get lost in translation. This is why this is a history book, and they don't know everything that transpired, because obviously these people were not present for these conversations, and you can't tell me that Mushroom was present for all of them.
True.
And even if he were, it's almost guaranteed that about 80% of what Mushroom says is not true, or some kind of fabrication. So you're not going to be able to get a whole lot of truths from Mushroom, especially not when you're talking about these intimate conversations that were being had about stuff like A Song of Ice and Fire. Those are things that are going to be passed down between Targaryen and Targaryen heirs. So it's not going to be a conversation happening in front of anyone else.
Yes, Haley. Whenever Rhaenyra dies, spoiler, magic does die. Per se, with the blood magic with the dragons.
So yeah, the connection that it's funny that Chelsea and I both made at the same time without even realizing it. And I had no idea that she had made videos, and I guess she didn't know that I made them as well, was the connection between the original Amethyst Empress and the Bloodstone Emperor of the Golden Empire of YT. And this is the God Empire. This is the very first ruling empire and one of the first civilizations in George's world. And they are ruled by these Gemstone Emperors. It's the first empire of the Gemstone Emperors. And it goes all the way down to the end where you get the Opal Emperor, who leaves his throne to his daughter, his eldest child, the Amethyst Empress. But his son, his youngest son, the Bloodstone Emperor, wants the throne and kills his sister, the Amethyst Empress, to take it from her. And that is where we are seeing history repeat itself with Aegon and Rhaenyra, because when the original Bloodstone Emperor killed his sister, it launched the Age of Darkness. And that is what we are seeing with the first Long Night. The original Long Night, the original Azor Ahai, Age of Heroes, that kind of thing. That is what is happening with Rhaenyra and Aegon, because that we see that the colder, longer winters are because the others are returning. And that is due to the blood betrayal.
G-Wolf, question, are all Targaryens fireproof? No, they are not. You will see in the next episode.
That was a stupid Game of Thrones thing. And it's funny because in the books, not even Daenerys' hair is not even fireproof. It burns fully off. She is bald, like bald. That girl starts to grow it back, and then she gets bald again because Drogon burns it off. So my poor girl can just not grow her hair out to save her life. Every time she grows out a little bit, it's getting burnt off.
I love that she still is like, I'm braided anyway, though. Give me some little braids and some bells.
This is the Spanish version of Clash of Kings.
I love that one. Except she's a little too mature looking, but I do love it.
Yeah, but she bald. She a bald girl.
I do think that it's not completely unreasonable for her breasts to be a little bit enlarged just because she did just have a baby.
True.
Yeah, she does look That's lot older than 13 or 14. 14. Is she 14 there? I think 14.
She's 14 at the end.
So she looks a lot older than 14, like in the face. But I'm not surprised by, because she did just have a baby there, her breasts would be.
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Carla asks, is the blood of the dragons acidic or hot? And we don't get any lore about that in the books, but the show definitely implied that it's at least hot. Because it steams. And I mean, the dragons themselves steam.
Yeah, they steam. So I always assume
I would assume their blood is quite hot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thus burning those soldiers at Westeros.
Yeah, that was wild. That was so sad. God.
Do we think that they're like lizards and that they can't circulate their body temperature, that it's just always this one temperature? I was kind of thought.
Meaning they're always hot. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's, Lightbringer, warm to the touch. produces its own heat.
Fire made flesh. Yep, that's exactly right, Indy.
Okay,
Aemon and Alice.
Yeah. Aemon and Alice.
We kind of went over this a little bit. We went over this a little bit earlier, but my personal thoughts on Alice and Aemon is that Alice does not love Aemon at all. That this was never a loving relationship. That she was always trying to manipulate him to do exactly what he ends up doing, which is die.
I agree with Kim Northstar. She said they are winged Komodo dragons. 100%, that is like the inspiration, I think the primary inspiration behind how the dragons operate, especially in terms of reproduction.
Yeah.
I think that definitely was an inspiration for George in the logistics of the dragons. And I love it, to be very clear.
I love it.
I love it.
I think Jacaerys, somebody mentioned, Nuka Cruz said, what about Jacaerys was over his mom's antics? I think that Jacaerys at this point is very much, and I think we talked about this in the last live, he's kind of a combination of Rhaenyra and Daemon. And emotionally, he's just very frustrated, and it's a very Daemon type emotional reaction, is that he wants to go to war. And there's some of that emotional immaturity that, I mean, it's definitely less so than with Aegon, but it also goes to show you that a lot of these people are just children. And I mean, it's like the same thing with Bela going down to try to attack Kristen when Rhaenyra specifically told her to stay in the sky. These are emotional reactions. And yes, while Rhaenyra is going to understand to an extent why she made that decision, because it's something that a young Rhaenyra would do, it's not, it's very much a teenager decision. It's impulsive and dangerous. And that's sort of Jacaerys' mindset right now. Like, he is out for blood, and that makes for a very dangerous, reckless teenager.
Yeah, I agree. He's just so broody. He is the Jon Snow we deserved.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's book Jon Snow. Like, the way he broods, that's Jon.
Yeah, that's
Kit was too like sad boy. That's not quite book John's kind of brooding. It's angry underneath, you know?
Yeah, Kit was more like just emo.
There was a question here I wanted to answer. Where was it? Kim Northstar is the first published Queen versus The Princess and the Queen. The early work, is it a little different? And the real difference is, the original version, it's all basically the same, except the original version doesn't have Mushroom and Eustace as a source.
Yeah.
They're characters, but they're not cited. He didn't add that in until he wrote The Rogue Prince, and then he edited in passages that added, like, for instance, the Green Council scene, he added in a bunch of stuff about who said what and whether or not Orwell said something. So all stuff like that is added in, but everything else is basically the same.
Yeah, The Princess and the Queen and The Rogue Prince are almost identical to What's on Fire and Blood.
So
there's
people
some
in the comments,
differences.
There are.
a couple people in the comments have asked about.
People are talking about the wild dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's what you were about to.
Yep.
Do we think they're going to show up? I think that they're going to show up.
They're definitely going to show up, I think.
Yeah, we have to.
We just saw a dragon go down. I feel like that's the perfect time to introduce more dragons.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I feel like, and I hate to like keep harping on this, I feel like the story of Nettles and Sheepstealer is so important that I would feel that it would be a shame if they took it out entirely. I know that a lot of people thought that they were going to combine, like that they were going to take Nettles out and put in Rhaena instead. But I feel like that's still, because Rhaena is Valyrian, so it doesn't really make sense. And I feel like Rhaena's story is, like, it's very special, and how she, like wants her egg to hatch, and she sits there and thinks about it and wants it and kind of manifests it to happen. And I feel like if you cut all of that out, I feel like it would be a shame. I understand if they have to do it for TV, but it would suck to take that aspect of it out, because I think that the reason why Nettles' story exists in the first place is because George wanted us to see that organic dragon bond happen without blood magic.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that we're going to get that in the show, though.
Yeah, I understand if they feel like they had to cut it out just because it's the show, but it would be a disappointment if they did. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
So the fourth egg that goes with Dany's eggs to the Vale, that is Viserion, or Jesus, Viserys, Rhaenyra's son's egg, and it never. I mean, in the book, it never hatches.
Yeah. And it's sad, too, because Viserys wanted it to hatch so much. Rhaena being the last dragon rider until Dany is so important to me. I would be so sad if they cut it. Yeah, me too, Haley. I think that they might cut it, but I would be very sad too if things don't play out for Rhaena exactly as they do in the book, because I think that it's so cool how she makes it happen for herself. And I think that that's kind of vital to her story.
Yeah. I mean, if it means getting Rhaena involved in the, like, fight itself, I'm not inherently opposed to her claiming sheep stealers so that she has an adult dragon. But the entire story arc with Mourning, I think, is very important.
And I want a pink dragon. I want a pink dragon, damn it. Like, I want a sparkly pink dragon with just like a girly pop look to her and so cute. And that's what I need. I need a pink dragon.
Yeah, so in the comments, someone is asking, wait, is Mourning already hatched in the show then? So we have not heard anything about Mourning in the show. So, you can argue that they're going to cut Mourning. We don't know that, but she's not been brought up, nor has her egg.
Yeah, I think if they were going to include Mourning, I would have thought that we would have seen Mourning's egg in there with the.
You cut out, Ashley.
There. Like, there should have been a pink. Oh, sorry, am I back?
You're back.
Am I back?
Someone asked in the books, when did Mourning hatch? She hatched while Rhaena was in the Vale.
And I would have thought that we would have seen the pink egg with Dany's eggs and Viserys's egg if that was going to happen. I was expecting to open up and for us to see a pink, a blue, and then, of course, Dany's red, gold, and green eggs.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
But we did not see her there, so that kind of leads me to believe that that we are not going to get Mourning like I'd hoped. Think Rhaena will get Mourning's eggs for saving Aegon from the pirates? Perhaps. Maybe. I hope so.
I do wonder, though, where would that egg have come from? Because I feel like Rhaenyra would have sent them all. Like, she doesn't want any eggs on Dragonstone, because if Dragonstone is taken, so are the eggs, which means they go to the Greens.
Do you think Syrax lays any eggs during wartime?
Do we think that they come from are we going to get Maelor? And that maybe this comes from Dreamfire. Maybe this pink egg comes from Dreamfire.
That would be a huge deviation, because Mourning is one of the only dragons that we explicitly know where she comes from, which is Syrax. I mean, that's not to say they won't do it. They've made other deviations, but that would be like you're not going against something that was like suggested, like Dreamfire and Dany's eggs. That's not confirmed. That's heavily implied, but it's like explicitly stated that Mourning came from Syrax.
Yeah, I don't see that would be the only way I could personally see it happening. But because, like you said, it feels like Rhaenyra is sending all of the eggs. Like, these are Syrax's remaining eggs.
I think Syrax might have one more clutch during wartime.
In the books, she doesn't. In the books, it says that her last known clutch is before the beginning of the Civil War.
And I think Rhaenyra's not having any more children, and we have to think that, she and Daemon are completely separated. So Daemon's gone off and done his own thing, and I don't think Rhaenyra wants too much to do with him right now. Especially not that. So, wasn't it originally thought that Dreamfire was the mother of Dany's eggs? Yes, but if you want to go check out Chelsea's Dragon Family Tree videos, I highly recommend them. They are very informative, and I'm here for this series. It's I would say it's some of your very best work. I have enjoyed it immensely. And I think that, like you have said, Chelsea, that narratively it makes far more sense for Daenerys' eggs to have come from Syrax. Because Rhaenyra is literally like the rightful queen. That is, and even though for Daenerys' story, being the queen of Westeros is not what's important, she is still the rightful queen. And I mean, when we get to the Dance 2.0, it is going to be over that, over Aegon being a fraud, trying to take something that does not belong to him. So it's still that Daenerys' rightful throne. It doesn't mean that that's what really matters to her so much anymore, but she's still the rightful ruler. So
and what irritates me the most is that in the official Targaryen tree, it shows the rulers. Rhaenyra deserves to have a 1 by her name, first of her name, because she sat the throne. It's official. So why isn't it done in the official books?
yeah, she sat there for 6 months. So, and then
why isn't it titled The Queen and the Queen?
Also, it just feels more like poetic that Syrax's legacy lived on, even though she did not. So I feel like that's also very important to Rhaenyra because, like, I don't know, it feels that Syrax's legacy deserved to continue.
G Wolf asks, what other stories would you like to see be done? I want to see Maegor, Aenys, and Rhaena. And that whole civil war.
I'm going to be part of the commons and say Aegon's conquest, but also closely followed by Bobby B's rebellion. Please and thank you.
I would love to see Nymeera's story.
Yes, Nymeria, and also give us 9 voyages of Corlys Velaryon. There's so many unanswered things in here that his voyages would clear up. Like the guy.
And it just would give us access to so many places that we couldn't because he's, the only person that's really seen them. That's lived.
Right.
And I mean, really, I think I'm less concerned with, like, I'm super excited for Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the show, but I really just want more books, George. Like, I want less TV shows.
More books.
Please give me more books. I will take more Duncan Egg series at this point. I will take anything you want to give me. Please, just give us something.
But please, no more cookbooks or coloring books. Give us actual textbooks.
Did you see that there's another cookbook? Yet another one?
There's 2 cookbooks. There's 2.
No, there's 3. There's 3.
What?
I'm saying there's a third coming.
What? A third one coming? Excuse me?
Check the WB
Has
store.
the second one even been released?
Check the WB store. Oh my god. Also, okay, I take back my shows, okay? I would like to see the Doom first. The Doom of Valyria. I don't care about it being an enigma. I want to see the top families of Valyria. Because, Targaryens are on the lower 40. I want to see the rituals. I want to see the origin of the blood magic. I want to see all that, and I want to see the doom of the 14 flames.
I agree, and I want it to be animated. An animated Old Valyria and an animated Great Empire of the Dawn are the top of my list of adaptations I'd love to see. I mean, the Great Empire of the Dawn.
I'm so excited
I would even say like that in like an anime style because it's heavily implied that like the Great Empire of the Dawn is like Eastern Asian, culturally.
Yes,
So I
he
think
definitely
that-
took it. George's inspiration, I believe, is from this series of novels about the 3, what is it called? The 3 Kingdoms. So it's like one of the great novels about Chinese history. So they're like historical novels about China. And he basically just ripped those off, like he ripped off War of the Roses and the Anarchy.
Yeah. So I would love to see, those 2 periods of time animated are top of my list. I would be so happy.
Yeah, Farrah, I think you're right. George is so frustrating. We'll probably get Fire and Blood Volume 2 and more Duncan Egg series books and still no Winds of Winter.
I am waiting for this announcement in August. I'm just
I'm allowing myself to get
No, Eric,
built up.
I don't even want to hear you talk. You pessimist. Get out of here. Go away.
Let's just see what he says in August, okay?
Okay, Eric loves to stomp all over our parade, our delusional parade, and he won't let me just live in my world of delusion. It's happening, okay? The cake is for the announcement. We're getting Woods of Winter. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Well, putting my dream stopping boots on.
Dario is going to be Euron, and Quentin is going to be burnt bacon. Bacon, absolute
They
bacon.
have the new Funkos on here.
Yeah. We'll see.
Bacon!
We'll see.
Crispier than Tyrion's bacon, okay?
Oh, shut the hell up. The official Westeros cookbook. What?
Oh, you found the cookbook. Good.
Good.
Why?
I've never even opened the
fucking
first one.
with us. God, he
I've
is.
never even opened the first one. I've like flipped through it a couple of times, but I'm never gonna make any of that
I'm
stuff.
never gonna make shit out of here.
Oh, so I want to. There's a comment that says, "How accurate do you all think the sizing of the dragons is relative to the books?" It's terrible.
No,
And
it's
honestly,
not.
the sizing within the books, when you actually line it up with when these dragons logically hatched, a lot of their sizing doesn't make sense because Tyraxes and Sunfire hatched in roughly 117 AC, so they should be the same size, and that is not the implication that we're given in the show. So, and that's just like one example.
Sunfire looks entirely too big. He's much bigger than Tyraxes, and that's a
Yeah,
little...
Sunfire's way too big. He was beautiful. Loved his design. Loved how everything went down, but he's entirely too big. He should not be that big.
Cyrax has not grown since the first episode.
Frustrating. Yeah, the sizing is all over the place. But the show, I mean, Game of Thrones was terrible at the sizing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some exaggerated sizes.
Yeah, we have to remember that where we are at with Daenerys is she is at her version of Dragonstone. This is her version. She's renamed it that. And she's kind of going through it, through a lot of dehydration, malnourishment, and all of the craziness. And she is currently eating a horse with Drogon that is so big that poor Drogon cannot carry it off. So they just sit there and eat it together while the Dothraki look on in horror at this crazy, wild, bald girl who's fully nude and eating a horse with her dragon. So this is a lot for the Dothraki. They're like I can't even imagine. This is, I want the main part of wins. Like, this is one of the things I'm really looking forward to is the Dothraki's reaction to this girl just fully eating a dead horse with her dragon.
Y'all, I just want to show you this. I want to show you this real fast. I'm going to turn my camera. This is literally the same mold. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. This is the same mold as Cyrax, but they just added more. They added more horns.
Really quick in the comments, someone is asking who Daeron's dragon is. It is Tessarion.
Tessarion is like a blue, purplish ombre.
Cobalt, like this. I actually happen to have cobalt right here.
There you go.
And bronze.
She's so freaking pretty. And I am very excited to see her in all of her gorgeous, sparkling glory.
But yeah, we have not seen her yet. And someone was asking about Tyraxes. Someone was asking about Tyraxes, which is Joffrey's dragon, and we also have not seen Tyraxes.
Yeah. Tessarion is my second favorite dragon behind Caraxes, and then it's Drogon. Just Caraxes, Tessarion, Drogon.
Actually, I know this is kind of a, like, I love Cyrax. I love that she's a pampered queen. Like, girl on.
She's just a little old kitty cat, a little spoiled kitty cat.
I'm super partial to Dreamfire, personally.
I don't want to go out when it storms outside either. Like, I don't want to go out and drive. I mean, I'd like to step outside, but I'm not going to go out and drive in a storm. Like, please, no. Choo-choo. I can understand why she doesn't want to fly.
Will Helena ever ride her dragon? I don't think we're going to get that in the show.
I really want it. I want them to just do it. So, like, if you could put Rhaenys and Maelys in a random scene where Aegon is being crowned, which is just so odd. Like, it was a choice. It was a choice. But if you can do something that random, then please, 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 just give me a little bit of Helena and Dreamfire. Just give me like a snippet. Give me a
didn't get Dreamfire for 3 seconds in the first season.
Yeah. Someone in the comments.
I just want to see them fly together, just one time.
I agree. Someone in the comments said that they love that Rhaenyra spoils Cyrax, and I agree because that's how they should be treating these dragons. These dragons should be treated like gods. Like, they should be revered. You should be giving them offerings, not fucking taking them to war so that they slaughter each other. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do.
What I'm saying, and this is what makes me so mad at Aegon. Like, that poor baby had no idea what was happening, and
okay, in the books, Rhaenyra doesn't ride Cyrax into battle. We haven't seen her do that in the show, and even if she does do it in the show, it's her last option. Like, she is not eager to throw her dragon into war. Yes, you are right that she should be criticized that she does ultimately use Cyrax for that. If she does, we haven't seen that yet. But she treats her dragon with a different reverence than, Aemon, for example.
there is such a legitimate love for Rhaenyra, like that Rhaenyra has for Cyrax. She does not want anything to happen to her dragon. She loves her dragon so much. There is a deep love there. So Cyrax has never known battle, has never known war. She's just a sweet little girly pop.
Something I really like about Dreamfire, to go back to Dreamfire, is her name being Dreamfire. And so Rhaena is who names her. And it is my headcanon that Rhaena was a dreamer. And that is how she comes up with this idea about putting the cradles, the eggs in the cradles, because this is her idea. And she's very fucking insistent about it for her younger siblings, Jaehaerys and Alysanne. And then in the show, we see that she, Dreamfire bonds with Helena, who is also a dreamer. And I'll go over this in my series, but Helena and Rhaena have a lot of similarities. Like, they have twins. Like, there are a lot of things. And I think that the implication is that they were also both dreamers. Which, again, is why I do find Dreamfire as an origin for Dany, who is also a dreamer, for her dragons. I do find that very compelling. I think that there are compelling cases to be made for either Cyrax or Dreamfire. And Cyrax ultimately comes from Dreamfire. So, in one way or another, they're all fucking connected anyway.
I saw someone say that Vhagar and Meleys probably used to fly together, and then she offed Meleys. We kind of already went over this, but Vhagar doesn't do any of this by her own choices. These are Aemon's choices. And yes, they did used to fly together because they were with a married couple. So Alyssa and Balon were a married couple. Balon rode Vhagar, and she rode Meleys. And Alyssa rode Meleys, and they were a married couple. So yes, they did ride these dragons together. And no, Vhagar is not making these choices. I see so many posts right now today of everybody getting mad at Vhagar. These are not Vhagar's choices. Vhagar is like 10,000 years old. Well, realistically, she's 200 years old.
Vhagar will be taking a nap.
Vhagar is so old. She's as old as Balerion was when he died. So, and Balerion died a peaceful death. Like, he just died.
Yeah, so, I really feel like the relationship the show is giving us between Aemon and Vhagar is a perfect demonstration of why Dany has to break the dragon bond. This is why it has to be broken, because this shouldn't be fucking happening. Those two never should have been bonded. And yeah, so as usual, I think everything comes back to Dany, but...
Yeah. Well, that's why I say this so many times, and I said it before the season of the show started, and I'll continue to say it. Fire and Blood exists for Daenerys Targaryen. The story was written for a backstory about Daenerys. Like, that's the whole thing, because George has always meant from the beginning, even when he wrote these little short stories about Daenerys in magazines, it's always been her. She's the titular character of the story. If it was meant to be a story about Jon, we would have had a whole backstory about the Starks, but we don't. It's all about Daenerys. This is her story.
No, but it's because he's the secret Targaryen.
No.
So this is all secretly history for him.
Even if he is, let's just say that he is Rhaegar's son, and more than likely he is. He has nothing to do with Targaryens. He was never raised Targaryen. This man was literally raised a Stark. He looks like a Stark, quacks like a Stark, acts like a Stark. This is the whole thing.
So someone in the comments said, I wonder if a dragon will ever refuse a rider. And I think the show really touched on this with Lena and Vhagar, because you see that hesitation. And I think we'll see it again with Sunfire and Rhaenyra. I'm going to make a whole video on this about that hesitation and then how ultimately they succumb because of that goddamn bond, because of the rider bond, the blood bond. Like,
Lena has to say Drakari's like what, 3 or 4 times?
So someone said in my video that I made, like I think I made it last year. I made it, I think it was October of last year, about Sunfire's hesitation to burn Rhaenyra. And they were like, oh, well, does that mean that Rhaenyra was a dragon whisperer? No, he was just injured. No,
he was a dragon whisperer, smartass. Actually.
Sunfire is an intelligent creature. Like, it's not like this is like a regular animal. Sunfire understood and knew the implication of killing Rhaenyra and did not want to do it.
Like, these dragons are sentient. They are sentient. They have like complete thoughts. Like they understand these things. And there's like a connection between it's very implied. There's a connection between their brains, right? Like there's an understanding there. You see it with wargs too, with Ghost and Jon and Bran and Summer and stuff like that. Like,
there's no choices behind this. Sunfire did not have any other option, and they literally have to cut Rhaenyra to get him to do it because he's refusing to do it.
Someone in the comments said, "Why does the rider bond trump the bond between dragons?" Blood magic. It's a blood bond that came from old Valyria using all kinds of fucked up magic and sacrifice.
This is the reason why Nettles, like I've said it a few times in this live, but for those of you just joining, this is the reason why Nettles' story is so important, because she forms a natural bond with her dragon Sheepstealer. I don't even think that Sheepstealer is a Valyrian dragon. I think he's just a wild dragon. And even if he is, I don't think that Nettles is Valyrian in any way. I don't think there's a drop of blood. I don't think there's any other explanation. I think that what makes Nettles so special is how very unspecial she is. And this is why Daemon, who did not have an affair with her, was so fascinated by her, because Daemon's history and the magic and the Valyria, that is so important to Daemon. The history of his family and where they come from is so important to him. So to see a young girl claim this dragon based on her want to
He's
claim,
like, how the fuck did you do that? How the fuck did you do that?
he's like, I gave her gifts. I gave her the presents, and she said I like the presents, and we did the thing. We did the thing.
Now hold on. Somebody told me that Nettles is actually a leaf. Are y'all trying to tell me something else?
I don't like that theory. I don't like that theory at all. I don't need her, like, don't get me going. I don't like that theory. You know it. You're trying to trigger me.
Maybe I am trying to get you going.
I think Nettles and Sheepstealer both died being worshipped as goddesses by the Mountain Clansmen.
It's my preferred version. Absolutely. I like that.
I think she went out exactly as she should have. And I think Sheepstealer went out exactly as she should have. Because dragons deserve to be worshipped.
So
is there a theory that she found the burned men or something in the Vale?
Yeah. And that they go see her.
The Burnsmen worshipped them. The Burnsmen worshipped them both as gods. Well, I'm sorry, she was like a witch, and they're like a witch goddess is what they called her, and that it was like a rite of passage for them to be burnt by Sheepstealer and survive.
We have some Tyrion bonding with dragons in the comments, guys.
No.
Well, so okay, wait. So the question.
Yeah, I was about to say.
The question is, if Nettles can have a natural bond with a dragon, can Tyrion? And the answer is yes. Anyone theoretically could have a natural bond like Nettles with a dragon. To be very clear, this is not the same as Tyrion being a secret Targaryen. This is not the same thing. In fact, the assumption has to be that Tyrion is not a Targaryen, because he's not, number one. And so the question in and of itself, the answer is yes, theoretically. Do I think narratively that makes sense? Do I think that's what's going to happen? No. And when, excuse me, when we talk about the three heads of the dragon. For me personally, that's a red herring. Dany is the three heads of the dragon. It is Dany and her dragons. That's the three-headed dragon. I mean, she literally wears a three-headed dragon crown. Like, it's Dany. The whole damn thing is Dany. She fulfills 3 prophecies. Azor Ahai, the prince who was promised a stallion who mounts the world. She's called the child of 3. Like, Dany is the three-headed dragon. In my opinion.
And it's so interesting because her crown is a nod towards so many things. So we have Dany's crown is a nod towards Jaehaerys's crown. So it's the crown that Rhaenyra wears. It's got some elements of that. It's got some elements of the original Great Empire of the Dawn, because we see some of the gemstones from the Gemstone Emperors. And we also have the 3 dragons for the 3 heads of the dragon, who was all Dany. And then you have Aegon, young Griff, with the 3 rubies across his, like on his cloak, that look very much like the very large square rubies that are in Aegon the Conqueror's crown. So we're getting the aspects of the Bloodstone Emperor and the Amethyst Empress coming in, because why is Aegon wearing these rubies that are so huge that look exactly like the ones in the Conqueror's crown?
Someone in the comments asked, two things I want to address, because someone has asked a couple of times to talk about Vermithor. And this comment that I want to specifically address is, does Dany have a blood bond or a natural bond with her dragons? So she has a blood bond and a natural bond. She has both. Dany has something that we've never in known history seen before, because these are her children. She breastfeeds them. She is bonded with them. But there is a blood bond aspect, and they were brought forth by blood sacrifice. So it's both, and you see the different development of the natural bond with her dragons. Like Viserion is like immediately naturally bonded to Dany, just clings to her, loves her, is like, fuck yeah. Drogon is a little more rebellious. He goes off on his own, and she has to work really hard to get that more natural bond with him. And she has not yet formed that with Rhaegal, and you all know how I think that's going to play out.
Okay, so, Taurine said, I swear I used to think I analyzed the Song of Ice and Fire until I met you guys. Yeah, we are definitely over-analyzers. And someone said, I thought Otto says Aegon does wear the Conqueror's crown. Yes, I should specifically say, when I am talking about this, I am talking about the current book series. We have young Griff, who thinks that he is Aegon Targaryen, as in Aegon the Sixth, as in the son of Rhaegar. So that is who he is under the assumption that he is that he is Elia Martell's son, as well as Rhaegar Targaryen's, but he is not. I personally believe that he is Aegon Blackfyre, and that we are about to get the 6th rebellion and final.
If you want to go even further, that Varys is a secret Blackfyre as well.
And a mermaid, don't forget.
Man.
Well, I mean, we also have Varys, who is shaving his head exactly as Aegon the Fifth shaved his head.
And I think that's why Alan shaves his head. I think Alan has blonde hair.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Because that's like, he's intentionally bald. That's shaved bald, not like balding.
Oh, yeah.
Now that we've had that scene with Rhaenys, now I'm definitely sure that they are going the route that they are Corlys' sons.
Yeah.
And that is why his head is shaved, definitely.
Yeah.
Haley, I think that George likes to play with this stuff. Like, I love that we have these hints that Roose Bolton is a vampire, because the leeches, the weirdness. I think George likes to be, like Chelsea says all the time, he's very unserious, and I think he just likes to play. Yeah, like the whole thing about Varys having a hard bed and being able to travel so quickly, I think he is kind of like, oh yeah, he's a merman, because he's just playing at this point.
So, Vermithor, to go back, someone in the comments was very patiently asked several times about Vermithor. So Vermithor in the books, we don't know what's going to happen. We have seen him in the show, and he was hatched from the cradle of Jaehaerys I, and they were bonded until Jaehaerys died. And so since Jaehaerys' death in, 101 AC, something like that, until the dance, when he gets claimed by a dragon seed, he's been unbonded. And in the books, it's Hugh Hammer. And so we've been introduced to Hugh Hammer, so I think we can pretty safely assume they are going to have him bond with Vermithor. I'm also really curious, because so in the book, Hugh Hammer starts with Rhaenyra, but in the show, he's in King's Landing, and it seems like he's starting with Aegon, but he doesn't seem to, like or trust Aegon. It seems like that's the direction that it's going in, right? Because he has this conversation with his wife where she's like, yeah, but when he said he would do this, but when is he going to do this? Right? So I'm wondering, are they setting it up to be the opposite? That he defects from Aegon to Rhaenyra versus Rhaenyra to Aegon? I'll be curious. I'm just very curious what they're going to do with Hugh Hammer.
I do think they're going, because in the book,
What was that, Eric?
In the book, Hugh and Ulf are just jerks. So I really feel like they would add something to their characters by having them be just reacting. So it's like, of course, they would flip from one camp to the other depending on what they're going to get. Because it's like, yeah, Aegon's going to mess them around, and then Rhaenyra's side is going to mess them around, which is why they probably do what they do in the end.
Yeah. So I'm into how they've set up Hugh. And I'm curious to see where that goes. And I like that they did the whole, like, Hugh Hammer, he's a blacksmith. I was like, oh, cute.
Well, we've already seen Ulf is a piece of garbage because he's like, oh, yeah, the one true queen, Rhaenyra. And then as soon as Aegon comes in, he's like, oh! Like, and he's
Yeah, but I mean, what was he going to do? Like, say that in front of Aegon and get his head chopped off?
Yeah, I'm not going to fault him for that, but we'll see what he does.
I fully don't blame him for doing that, but also at the same time, you're the first one to claim that Aegon is king in the room. Like, you didn't need to go that far, my guy.
Well, because he was just being, making this allowed to do, so he had to be like, whoop, 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 take it back, rewind, just kidding, you didn't hear anything I just said, all hail, hey, Aegon. Like, yeah, I definitely don't fault him. I never would have been, like, fucking grandstanding and announcing myself a dragon seed in the fucking tavern to begin with, but if I had
the way that plays out, I'm like, dude, why are you running your suck right now? What is the thought process behind you running your mouth right now? It's just
not one. There's not one.
Now, do we
the little ping pong ball going back and forth? Bing, 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 bing.
All right, just to let everybody know, this is going to be ending in 8 minutes.
Okay. Let's see.
Is that true? Because I still got battery.
I have to go in 8 minutes.
That makes sense. Yeah, we can end it in 8 minutes.
Yeah, I should. I got some videos I want to make before I have to start, doing my job. Yeah, start working.
So anybody in the chat, any last minute questions? Let's take some questions right now.
Something that I wanted to say earlier when we were talking about Vermithor. We see Vermithor in the show. Daemon is the one singing the lullaby to him.
Yeah. And in terms of size, he is second only to Vhagar at this point in the timeline.
Yeah.
He's big. He's a big boy. Because like I said, he bonded with Jaehaerys, who was like 100 years old. So he's pretty old.
Vermithor is currently in the Dragon Pit, or is he at Dragonstone now? Where is Vermithor?
He must have been at Dragonstone because Daemon.
I was going to cite the Daemon scene. They were at Dragonstone, obviously, because that's in the last episode of season 1.
I think it might be too big for the dragon.
Sarah asked if a dragon rider can claim another dragon after their dragon has passed. No, it has never been done. To my knowledge, it's never been done.
Yeah, there's no precedent.
In the book, Aegon tries, I think, or he wants to, but he never gets the chance.
He wants to. Yeah.
But I don't think it works that way. I don't think that it's a reverse thing. Like, dragons can go on to have multiple riders. I don't think it works that way for the rider. Or at least it's never happened that way.
I think part of that, too, is because, dragons' natural lifespan is so much longer than a human lifespan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it never came up.
Do we think we're going to see the red priest on Rhaenyra's side?
Sorry, say it again?
Somebody said, are we going to, do we think that the red priestesses are going to come in at any point and be on Rhaenyra's side?
Are they involved in the book? Are they mentioned?
I don't remember.
Mention it. I don't think so.
I don't think they're ever in Fire and Blood. That to my knowledge, I don't think that they're in Fire and Blood. I always thought that it would be interesting to see like a young Melisandre in the show, but obviously, I don't think we're going to see a Red Priestess though. I would have liked to have seen Melisandre as a child when she was like getting her backstory, but I think that that's a stretch.
Yeah, because that's in Essos. And I mean, the whole reason why Essos is such a thing in the main series is because that's where Dany is. I think there's less cultural, outside cultural pull-ins for this House of the Dragon series.
Actually, Kim Northstar, this what ends up happening to Aegon in particularly is he's taken out by his own people, which is kind of hilarious.
Funny of the two that take him out.
Yeah, Arya is in Essos also in the main
So
series.
we can always say what you will about Rhaenyra. She has a true dragon rider's death, and she goes out like a boss. She's like, whatever, I'm facing this head on. And Aegon gets poisoned by his own people.
Speaking of, when do you think that Corlys is going to be officially named Hand?
Oh, not until the last season, I don't think. But wait,
That was a question I had. Is he already Hand? Does Rhaenyra even have a hand at this point?
Oh, you mean Rhaenyra's? I thought when did you think he was going to go over to Aegon's side? I'm sorry, I misinterpreted that question. Isn't he kind of already, like Eric said?
I mean, this is the first time we see him in Dragonstone.
Okay, so I feel like Rhaenys was kind of her unnamed hand, but now that she's gone, I think Corlys is going to take her place.
It did seem like, though, things there were squabbling in the council meeting, and then Corlys showed up, and that stopped. So there is kind of, I feel like, an implied. Part of it is because he's a man as well, but there's they defer to him. There's a deference happening.
Rhaenys was not the Hand, and she did not wear a hand pin. That was Photoshop. She never wore the hand pin.
No.
I saw the same picture in that scene where she's sitting at the council table. She was not wearing a pin during the.
Do you guys have any thoughts on the difference between? We get two versions of the Targaryen sigil. One has 4 legs. One has 2.
Yeah, so House of the Dragon has 4, and Daenerys's has 2. Because the sigil that I have as a flag is 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think she uses a different one in Game of Thrones. But I think that when she's selling to Westeros, it has 4. And then they changed it. Because this one on World of Ice and Fire has 2.
They're gonna, for me, canonically, they have 2 because dragons in this world have 2 legs. I don't care what any fantasy nerd says. I defer to George on this.
I remember when I was talking to when I was doing my lore videos, people were arguing with me about Wyvern versus Dragon. I'm like, if George makes them 2-legged, then they're freaking 2-legged.
He has a reason. The reason that he did this is because in the real world, from an evolutionary standpoint, things that have wings don't have 4 legs. Birds don't have 4 fucking legs. And so that is why he designed the dragons the way that he did, is because he thought it made sense from an evolutionary standpoint. Which also to me kind of implies that the idea that they were created by the Valyrians is incorrect, which I definitely think is incorrect. But also he's implying that there was evolution involved, which forced evolution. Okay.
No, Daemon is.
This is just George's sci-fi brain coming in.
No,
it does.
Daemon is not the Hand. He'd probably like to be, but he is not. He is the prince / if you asked him, he's the king consort. But he's really just prince. He's Rhaenyra's husband. That's his role. And she no longer is taking a lot of his advice into account because he's shown himself to be unreliable in terms of, he makes a lot of his decisions emotionally based and without logic. She needs a logical hand.
Farah asked, this is about someone bonding with more than one dragon in their lifetime. Is it because a human body can't handle more than one dragon bond? That's possible. I'm just inclined to think that because dragons live so much longer than humans, they're just outliving. It's not often that the rider outlives the dragon. There is that, you see it with Moondancer and Bela and stuff like that. But and a lot of them, they die together, especially once you get to the dance.
It might also have to do with how powerful, I guess, the rider is, because, skin changing, if you're up a power level, you can skin change with multiple things, but other people have issues with just keeping one creature in line.
Oh my gosh, true. Haley, Damon telling the Tully kid to just kill his grandfather, like that was so out of pocket. Get out of here with that, Damon.
Okay,
You couldn't
so
even kill
I
your
feel
own
like-
nephew. You sent some other motherfuckers to do that for you, and here you are telling this little kid to kill his,
Okay, I think that personally, I don't want to come across as, oh, I'm being super defensive. I think he was getting irritated because he's like, that's not our way. And he's like, okay, but if your grandfather can't make these decisions, then you're going to have to make them. I think it was more of like a sarcastic remark, like, okay, well, go ahead and kill him then. Like, if you can't make the decision.
It's totally Damon. Like, I agree. I just was like,
I don't think
Demon
he
is
was
out of pocket.
I don't think he was legitimately telling him to kill him. But I do think it was a dick move. But I don't think he was like, oh yeah, for sure, kill him. I think he was just like, listen, kid, you're gonna have to start making these decisions because if Granddaddy can't, like, someone's gonna have to make these choices. I think he's pointing out like kind of the flawed system. Like, why are you not making decisions? If your grandfather is an invalid and he can no longer make any decisions, then you need to be making these decisions. Like,
I thought
somebody's
it was interesting though because it sort of undercut what he said earlier about like respecting your liege lord no matter their condition. Because now that it inconveniences him, he's like, "Fuck your incapacitated liege lord," you know. He's just very changeable.
I think it's also interesting though that like Viserys was still capable of making choices. He just didn't really want to because he was very sick. But like, if it's gotten to that past that point with Lord Tully, then yeah, somebody's got to be making choices. But again, that is Daemon contradicting himself, like you said. It's all about what's convenient at the time.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I do have to go.
Yeah,
I have to get my dinner started in the crock pot. But this was awesome. I appreciate everybody that participated in the live comments. But thank you so much, and I will see y'all next week.
Be sure to tune in. If you missed anything, the full episode will be on YouTube later this week.
It will be on YouTube. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.